Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey. I am a knitwear designer from the southwest of France, and this is a podcast where I talk about my yarny creations. So, hey, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you are doing well. It's gonna be a artificial light episode, and I am very sorry, but it is very dark, and it is bothering me because I have to take some design pictures, and also the sweater I'm wearing looks horrible in artificial light, and it really creates weird shadows on my face and on the sweater. So for that I apologize, but I tried both, and really I thought you'd rather see things. Right. But yes, it's gonna be quite a hefty project episode because I have three big projects to share, three sweaters and, well, three garments to talk about. One design of mine that has just been released, and two finished personal projects from other designers that I have finished and wanted to show you. And yes, that's it. So I'm going to start right away, and you can find timestamps to all the different sections of the podcast in the description down below. So if you want to skip anything or find a project in particular, feel free to look at that. I also put links to everything that I talk about, the patterns and the yarns that I used, as well as links to my social media and my patterns for sale on Ravelry and Bayhip. So I am going to start with the sweater that I'm wearing, which is a new design that I just published on Ravelry and Bayhip, and it is the Phaedra sweater. So this is a drop shoulder pullover, which is knitted from the bottom up with a texture panel on the front. I'm sorry, because like the light makes some really nasty creases, but hopefully you can get an idea of the look. And on the back, as well as on the sleeves and the rest of the body, is a dotted textures. So it's just a purl stitch that is a line in like a sort of offset pattern, basically. So yes, you start at the bottom with the ribbings, which you knit flat because they are split, and longer at the back. Then you join everything in the round, and you knit the body in the round until the armholes, where you separate the front and the back. You knit upwards, you make some short rows on the shoulder and some around neckline, which is rather more open than what I usually do, because I figured this would be nice to wear with the shirt and the collar, for example. And you do a 3 needle binder for the shoulders. Then you pick up stitches around the sleeves, you knit them straight in the dotted motif, and then you gather them just before these long ribbed cuff, which you can fold back if you like. So, and then you pick up stitches around the neckline, and you knit the 2x2 ribbing collar. So, collar, I don't know. Yeah, so construction-wise, it is very simple. You might have noticed by now that I really like the simple, cozy, relaxed silhouettes with some nice fancy textures. So yes, it is very easy to adapt if you want to make the body longer, shorter, if you want to adjust the sleeve shaping, and if you want a different amount of ease. So you can have something that's very relaxed with lots of drape if you choose something with a lot of ease. I'm wearing mine with quite a bit. Or you can have something that's a little bit more fitted if you prefer. In the pattern there are bust darts that you can add if you like. The instructions are there. Basically, you work some short rows here at the front so that the top of the sweater does not ride up if you have a larger bust. So that is in the pattern. And yes, the motif is different across the size range. So I wanted to talk a bit about this because it's a choice that is very design specific, so I kind of have to make the decision based on each specific design. Basically, when you have a sweater with a panel of texture, you kind of have to decide if what's more important. Is it the proportion, or is it that the actual design stays the same across all sizes? And I have tried different things in the past, and from hearing what other knitters thought, it seems like it's really personal. Some people really hate it if the motif is not exactly the same across all sizes, which I can understand, because if you see something on the sample and then you are knitting it and it's different, it can be a bit tricky. And some other knitters much prefer having the proportion to be right, even if it means that the motif is different. So yeah, it's a choice that we have to make at each design. And on this sweater, originally I didn't change it because I thought it was too different. So see, for example, the center panel here. There are 3 diamonds, you see, and you could think that if I added 2 more, so you keep an uneven number, and have them be 5, like that would widen the panel, and maybe that would be nice. But I think it's too different, and yes, I think it would have skewed the balance too much towards being a completely different look. So I actually changed it during the test, thanks to some testers' feedback. And so it was changed like a month or so after the test started. And basically what I ended up choosing to do with the feedback from my testers was the actual motifs are the same, but they are spaced a little bit. You see here, you have a line of twisted stitches here. And so basically in the larger sizes, you just have a couple more here. So it's like ribbing, basically. So each motif, it looks exactly the same, and they're just separated here a little bit more with ribbing. And since it's twisted ribbing, it sort of shrinks back, and it shrinks back, and it sort of looks the same, but a larger proportion wise. Well, I mean the same, because the thing is, if your circumference of the sweater is bigger and the panel stays the same, yeah, it looks a bit off. So I changed up this during the test, and you can see at least one of the testers managed to do the new version, so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, it was the compromise that I ended up making, so that the design looks the same, and like there's a slight shift to make sure that the proportion is also not so unbalanced. So that is that. Now, difficulty-wise, it's more about making the 2 things at once. So basically, you have to keep in mind that you have to follow the center motif and the dots. And so basically it gets intuitive once you've done once or twice, and in the pattern you also, when you decrease here for the neckline, you have to maintain the pattern as established, and the pattern tells you what to do with each stitch, basically. Basically you have 2 simple things but 2 things to follow. So in the pattern, if you want to only look at the center chart, next to this chart you have a dot, so that way you don't have to look at the 2 different motifs, and you know that when you're on this row of the main chart, that's where you make the dots, and then basically the dots are aligned, you see, so you can check where was the next one below, and you can align them. So it's fairly intuitive. And as for these motifs here, they're very, very simple to make. It's like twisted stitches, and the largest cable is only 3 stitches. You see, and these leaves here are like lace, just increases and decreases. And then you have the little bubbles here, and in the pattern there is the video tutorial for the bubbles. And people ask, so if you want to skip the bubble, you can just make a twisted stitch instead of the bubble, and it makes like a little branch motif. But yeah, so that's sort of the thing. It's 2 things to keep in mind, but 2 things that are very simple. So it depends on how you can work your attention. But once you set it up, it gets intuitive, and you just have to see whether it's okay to manage 2 things, or if you would rather knit one thing, even if it's more complicated. But yeah, and since the back is all the dotted motif, it's quite relaxing as well. So yes, I worked it at a DK gauge, so you can use a regular crisp DK if you want. A few testers used a BFL DK that looks absolutely great because you can see like some sharp definition, or you can use, like I did, a combination of fingering weight and lace weight with a fuzzy texture if you like, be it mohair or alpaca. I used Knitting for Olive Merino, held double with their soft silk mohair, and the merino colorway was hazel and the soft silk mohair was plum clay. So it's I really like Knitting for Olive. Like their color range is lovely, their yarn is really great for a variety of different things, and it makes like the most lovely warm soft jumper. So yes, that's about it for Phaedra. Yeah, I'm trying to make it look good despite the horrible light situation. But yeah, I really hope you like it. I really do, and I'm really proud of this design, and I'm really happy and thankful to my testers for their patience and for making such beautiful versions of it. And yeah, so if you like it, there is 15% off on Ravelry with the code Phaedra until Sunday. So you can find everything and all the details in the description down below. And yes, that's it. And while I am on sale promotion topic, it's SOCKTOBER. So if you don't know, in the knitting community in October we like to celebrate sock knitting, so SOCKTOBER. I'm saying this like it's not obvious, you know, but yeah, and usually I forget and I remember like in the middle of the month, but this time I remembered, and so I managed to set up a little promotion. So during the entire month of October, all my sock designs on Ravelry are 30% off. So there's no code needed. It's an automatic reduction. So I will put the link below to the bundle of all my sock designs. Basically, it's all the designs that are available for sale on Ravelry. And yes, so if you've been wanting to knit one of my sock patterns, now is when you will be able to get them at a sale. And yeah, I have some simple texture ones if you want to begin knitting socks. I have some lace, more fresh, springy, delicate designs. I have some color work, I have some cables. So yeah, if you've been eyeing one of them, now is SOCKTOBER. So that's it. Enough about me, myself and I, and I'm going to move on to my finished works in progress, but no, my finished project. And I have 2 garments, and so I'm not going to change and put them up, but I will insert here videos of me wearing the projects so you can see them worn as well. And the first one is the wannabe sweater, which I test knitted for Nadia Cretin-Lechaine, which is NCL Knits. And so I'm making signs here for my future self who is editing this video to insert the video here of the wannabe sweaters. So it is a very simple, cozy, easy to knit raglan pullover. You knit it top down, and it has wide ribbed collar, a thick raglan with 5 stitches, and it is knitted top down, like I said. You start in the round with the collar, then you knit some short rows as well as starting the raglan, and yes, and you can choose to incorporate some fine stripes if you like into the sweater design. And it is a very, very simple and fun garment to make, like a basic pullover thing. And it's if you're wanting to knit something relaxing and that has just a little bit of fun, if you do the stripes, I think this is really nice. So I test knitted this for her, and she released it at the end of September, and I tried to finish it in time for when I record, because I recorded last episode quite in advance. And I tried to finish it in time, but I couldn't. So here it is now. And yeah, so I think the video should be over now. And I wanted to talk about the 1x1 rib a bit, because I really like it. And I used not to like it so much because like many people, I wasn't a fan of it, because when you knit 1x1 rib, it spreads out quite a lot, like the knit stitch is a bit like stretched, and a lot of people don't like it. And so what you can do if you don't like that is, you see how the inside is actually much neater. So basically what you can, this is because it's kind of like when you have a panel with a texture, and on one side there's a knit stitch that's gonna be very wide, and on the other side it's okay if you have 2 sides of a cable or something with the purl in between. It's because your tension is very different if you make a knit stitch after a purl or if you make it before. And I think that's kind of why 1x1 ribbing is weird tension wise on this side. So if you don't like that and you want that, you can, at the beginning of your ribbing, just make a German short row and shift it. This way you're knitting inside out, and you will have the neat one outside. However, since I designed, I made a design with 1x1 rib with a rather rustic yarn a while ago, and since then I changed my mind. I kind of like it now. I like that it's like, it gives a really handmade rustic feeling, and I really like it, and it's my favorite feature of the design, and it's why I wanted to test knit it for Nadia, because I don't know, I think it looks really cool. I think the combination of this wide handmade looking ribbing with the really thick raglan, which is like this here, this combined with the fact that it looks delicate because of the fine stripes and its fingering weight, so it's quite light, I think it makes a really interesting contrast, and this is why I really liked the design. And yeah, I'm gonna be very happy to be wearing it now that it's like the right season too. And I used Filcolana Arweta as my main color in the Marzipan colorway, which is, it's a merino and nylon blend. It's like the basic fingering way. I really like it. If you're looking for a sock yarn, a texture yarn, if you want to do color work but you don't like woolly yarns, this is great. It has a fantastic array of colors. It's really affordable. I really like that yarn. And I combined it with a skein of hand-dyed yarn from Ma Petite Laine, which is a French dyer, in her Écoutez crépiter le feu colorway, which means listen to the fire crackling. And yes, and I really like how it blends like bright pink, purple, rusty, orangey tones. And yes, it made it quite fun to work on, and I'm really pleased with the result. The only change I did is I shortened it, like I usually do, because I'm not very tall. And like, I think this is like only 30 centimeters or something. And like, number wise, it's 30 is not a lot, it's short. But on me, it's not that cropped because normal length sweater, they don't look good on me. Because first of all, like, I'm very pear-shaped, and so they don't fit. Basically, they're pulled by my hips, and it's not comfortable. And I always make it so that the sweater stops at my hip, because it's that way it looks normal length, basically, because if not, it really makes a weird line and it's not nice. Yes, that's it basically. Then I needed the sleeves as written, and all good. Yeah, that's it for this really. So it is now available. Nadia released it at the end of September, so I will put all the links below if you would like a simple basic jumper. Now, my next finished project is a tee, a knitted tee, which I started over the summer, and it is the Sea Glass by Wool and Pine Knit. So again, I'm going to insert here, hello, put the video now, of me wearing it, so you can see how it looks. So it's a top-down yoke tee, and basically the idea is to use leftover yarn and to like swap. You can swap at every row basically 2 colors. So what I really liked about the design is that you could make it so that it was really a leftovers design, so that, because usually leftover patterns you still need to have like a minimal amount because of the way the colors are arranged. In this you do not. Like, even if you have like 10 meters or something, you can use them, even like 2 meters actually, or whatever, because you can change that every row. And the way you do this is you knit in color work, 1 by 1, 1 stitch of each color. Then you cut your yarns and you make magic knots to attach the following colors. And so yeah, it took me a while because I got distracted and cast on other whips, but I'm happy I did it. I have a few execution issues. It's not really due to the pattern because it's how it is. But yeah, basically making the knots was a bit long, which is normal. And some of the knots are undoing themselves, and that's not the pattern's fault, that's my yarn's fault. If you use a very smooth yarn, they tend to undo themselves. In the pattern, they recommend to spray something on it. I don't know what it is because I'm not an American and I can't tell what that is that they're using. But it looks to me like hairspray or something. And I think that would work because the idea is to solidify it. So I understand. I didn't want to do that because I don't have hairspray. Like, who would think, right, that I don't have fancy hair products? But maybe it's not hairspray, but I don't know. But I didn't want to spray something because I'm lazy. That's kind of on me. But basically, one of my yarn is a very smooth handspun merino, and it always is too slippery, and it undid. As I was recording the French episode, I noticed 2 knots that were undoing themselves, and I had to fix them. But so the thing is with this knot techniques, I think visually it's good because, see, if I show you here, you can see that there's some textures, bumps here and there, you can sort of see them, but overall it's fine. Right? But it's more that for me they were undoing, but that's, yeah, like more of a mechanical issue than not at all a design problem. And I think, like, I kind of want to do it again, but instead of it being a leftovers project, be a single skein project, because I have quite a few single skeins of hand-dyed yarn that I wanted. What is happening, man? Why am I so white? I kind of have a bunch of single skeins that maybe I wanted to use for socks or to pair together in a shawl. And I think this design would work really well like this if you don't have to change it every row. Like, thank you. Better. If you just alternate 2 different colors and then you change whenever, or you can alternate even 3 because you can carry them, even 4 because you can carry them. But just so you don't have to cut them that often, I think this is what I would do. And I kind of want to do this long sleeve version. So, yes. So that's my thoughts on the general thing. I made it shorter again. And I also, normally you pick up stitches for the sleeves and you knit like 5 centimeters, 2 inches in color work before making the ribbing. I didn't do this because lazy, and also I have rather large upper arm compared to my bust size, and it's something that I really don't like is when something is tight around because if I had knitted the way the yoke fell, it stopped at the part where I was most mobile, and if I moved and knitted the 5 centimeter, then it would have like cut me in the largest part of my arm, and I really feel that this is super uncomfortable for me. Like whenever I have a t-shirt with an upper arm that's not very loose, either it's here but because if it's here and it's not loose enough, I hate it. It's really uncomfortable for me. So I tried it on before the sleeves, and so I knew that if I did that, it would have bothered me. So I did the ribbing right away. And I like how it falls like this. Even if maybe it's not so pretty looking at it, it's much more comfortable for me. And I keep doing this like I'm a duck. But no, that's not a duck. That's a very French thing to say, because there's this silly child song where you dance like this and it's ducks. But ducks don't do this. So no one knows what I'm talking about besides someone that would be French and know the song. Anyway. Why do we do it? Because the dance is this, and it's about being a duck, but duck never do this. Anyway. Why did I go that route? Anyway, I am very happy that I did it, even like if there's I have some issues with my project. I'm very happy that I did it because the pattern does teach you a lot color-wise. And for someone like me who's a bit uncertain with my color arrangement, whenever I try to do something a little bit different, I'm very happy with the fact that I learned to separate between saturated and light and to make a combination of both always. And I think like the overall blend of colors is really successful. So I'm happy with myself on that. I think I'm really happy that I managed to learn this, and yeah. So that's it for my sea glass tea, and yes. So I'm not going to show you any works in progress because, I finished the design just before starting to record this one, and so now I only have the two works in progress. One that you saw last episode and it didn't advance, and then my colorwork blanket, which is almost done, and maybe in next episode it will be finished. Who knows? I'm not promising it because I do need to graft it, because it's a colorwork blanket that I've been knitting for the past year, and it's like knitted in pieces, and then I have to graft everything together, and I don't know how long that's gonna take me. So yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe if it's not in the next episode, it will be in the one after that, I think. But yes, so I'm gonna stop here for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again at the end of the month. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a very happy rest of the day, evening, whatever applies to you, and I will see you next time. Bye!